All right, and we are live. Hi, Payal. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm
I
doing well. It's been a minute.
think it's been like what, maybe under a year, right?
Has
Definitely
it
under a year,
been?
but
No
definitely
way.
over 6 months, but under a
Sure.
year.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
think about you all the time. I'm like, I need to meet this person like one day.
I know we definitely connected, and we need to make our way to each other for sure. And I think it will happen. It'll happen
I
soon.
think it will too. Yeah.
Now, I actually did a healing session on bile. So I would say, yeah, a little over 6 months ago. And now I
Mhm.
can't remember exactly when we did it or what month we did it, but it was last year. And you actually found me via one of my past clients who referred you to me. And it's just a small world because you know my cousin Seema too. Like,
Mhm, mhm.
Kyle's a beautiful gal and she does a great job with makeup. And so I think you had done makeup on Seema and then I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a small world. Everybody kind of
It
knows
was
everybody.
so it was so crazy because I remember meeting Seema for the first time at like a charity event or something, and her and I were talking about business, and I always would think about her all the time because I'm like, oh my God, you just want to, when you like just spiritually connect with somebody, you're like, okay, cool. And then I kind of sort of manifested working with her one day. I said, I would love to like do her makeup. So I did her makeup and she was so sweet. And she had mentioned you, like, she didn't mention your name, but she said, oh, my cousin does a lot of like fun spiritual stuff. And then when I connected with you and I was like, oh my God, she's the cousin.
Yeah. It's all sort of a domino effect. And we all are these synchronicities. And when you meet people, there's always a reason. So we're all
Hmm.
connected, right? It just goes
Yeah.
to show. But
Yep.
now, gosh, it's been post 6 months, I would say, maybe, you know, a month or two over. How would you say how you're doing now, like post session?
Hmm. Oh my God. So I feel like because we did the past life regression, I like so many things kind of started to uncover about my personality and my truths. And I would definitely say that, I mean, I've never seen myself like in this higher self version. So I think like because the past life regression, like because we went through that whole journey, I became even more of a believer of what's actually out there and more of like I wouldn't even say a believer, I would say more of like a student of what's actually out there. So just continuously like absorbing like everything that's been coming my way and rather shutting things out, rather questioning why it's in my life and what significance it's maybe had on past life stuff or like things that could potentially show up in the future. And so I think that like having that session with you is just like so eye-opening in terms of like the universe and like honestly like what journeys my soul has been through, and then just even like the connection to the relationships that I have with people now. It's like, okay, you can just actually sense like we've definitely met before, or we have
Yeah.
this really tight bond that we just kind of like picked up on from like maybe past lives. And it's funny because I also do Reiki, as you know.
Yes.
um there's so much past life stuff that has come up for me when I work with clients. And so, instead of being like, I don't know, is that real? I'm always like, no, this is what like this, I'm just confidently feeling like this is all a part of it. So the past life regression was so eye opening.
And you had, I don't know if if you're open to sharing, but you did have a past life regression. I'll name one of them, and it not like the personal one, but there was an indigenous boy named Guapo that came through. I
Hmm.
don't know if you remember Guapo, but
Hmm.
Guapo was a part of you. And I think from what I remember in your session, you, Bile, were connected to Guapo because you were perhaps a sister, and Guapo
Hmm.
and he
Yeah.
attached. So, and then there was this idea of attachment. I think he attached to either your foot or your hip because we were
Hmm.
doing the attachments as well, removing the attachments. But that was so interesting. So, were you
Hmm.
surprised? What did I mean? Gosh, the whole session was pretty
Yeah.
amazing and wild. Hey.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I think that, I always look at my dog and I always just look at him and I'm like, you are my child in this life. Like, and I was like, it's cool. Like you were my little brother at one point. And because I never in a million years thought that I would ever get a dog, let alone like, you know, just having the guts to bring one home, like to around my mom, and then realizing that like you cross paths with certain pets and humans and situations for a reason. And I was like, I can't believe this little cute little creature is in my life as my literal, like my pet, but also just like we have a soul connection. And then that, because of that specific scenario, then made me think about everybody else that's in my life. And it made me realize that like, again, like these people are in my life for a certain reason, and we've been together through lifetimes, and you just feel it now, you know, you just let it flow so freely. And so that I think was just like such a beautiful part of the whole experience. And like, granted, I was like nervous, I was scared at first, but once I kind of like let myself like kind of just go and like let myself be free, it became such a story, like such a beautiful story that just made so much sense.
And so for the viewers out there that, you know, may want to have a session, what do you actually feel? Do you see? Let
Mm-hmm.
people know, like, so for example, with Guapo, did you feel
Mm-hmm.
him? Could you see him? I think
Mm-hmm.
you were even describing the death scene of Guapo, and when he was
Mm-hmm.
killed by a soldier or something like that, or a
Mm-hmm.
warrior.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So how did you feel in the moment when you were
Mm-hmm.
having that memory, that past life memory of Guapo, or
I think,
connecting with him?
yeah, I think in most cases, I feel like if it, you know, if I feel like if I didn't have the spiritual background that I do, I think that I would have been really scared and sad. But I think because I have had such wonderful spiritual experiences, it just kind of made me thankful that he's back into my life, which was also really comforting. But yeah, in that very moment, it was just like, you know, it also kind of just made me think about like life now versus then, and like the obviously just general like emotional developments that have happened. And I think that, you know, like having that connection was just so comforting. And even like with my dad coming through, and then like the religious figures that I saw, I was like, wow, we're all just like one. And you just genuinely feel different energies that come from, you know, significant people. Like I felt like with my dad, he was kind of like my friend and my teacher, whereas I felt like the religious figures that I saw were more like my like I was a student to them, and I, you know, they were like my like cheerleaders almost, you know, and like kind of helping me navigate through life. Whereas I felt like my dog is just kind of like my child, which allowed me to express my nurturing side. So I think that when I acknowledged all the relationships and what they brought to me, whether it's on this side or on, you know, on the other side, or even from past lives,
Yeah.
I always just like kind of felt like we're all connected and we're all together at all times. So it's okay, you know? But in most people, you know, in a lot of situations, most people would be scared, you know, to experience those kind of things. Whereas I can now like comfortably say that those are like beautiful moments that led us to come back into each other's lives. So yeah.
That's awesome. And I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know if you want to say which one of the key religious figures or the avatar that came through. I don't know if you want
Mhm.
to share that with
Mhm.
everybody listening, but
Yeah, absolutely. For me, it was Radha Krishna. So I thought that was really beautiful. And ever since I had kind of like that vision or that feeling that this religious figure was there to protect me, I've kind of always like memorized what I've seen and what I felt. And so therefore, anytime I feel like scared or nervous, I always just like think about what they look like, or think about the fact that they are my protectors. And therefore, I'm just like so unafraid. I'm unafraid of like death. I'm unafraid of scary like financial scenarios. I'm just unafraid now, which genuinely feels very good.
that's amazing.
um, yeah.
Yeah. Do you feel like what's one thing that you really got from the entire session? What would you say is the biggest lesson that you learned? Were you surprised? Did
Hmm.
you, you know, did you overcome fear, do you think, by doing the session?
Yeah. I think that, you know, aside from overcoming fear, I just came to the most practical state of mind, which was simply just be in the present. And because I think what I've realized is that if I worry too much about the future, which is something that's just genuinely not in our control, just like past lives, nothing was really in our control. It was just all in the energy that we had in each lifetime, and you know, the access to things like healing work that we had in those lifetimes. Like now in this lifetime, the universe has finally gifted me with the opportunity to do constant healing work. So I think that the biggest thing that I like took away from this was just simply like, just stay in the present, be in the moment, just embrace what comes your way, good or bad. Like the universe will be here to take care of you. And the universe we are literally children of the universe. So like we are, like we were birthed by the universe. So, I think that the universe is, at the end of the day, will still always have our back and take care of us.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And now, would you recommend this for everybody out there? Or do you think healing via hypnosis is for everybody?
I think it's definitely open. I think it's definitely for everybody. It's just a matter of at what point in your life are you willing to go like deep into deep emotion, a deep emotional state. And the thing is like when you think about that, it can be scary.
Yeah.
But there's so again, you have to consciously be and even subconsciously be prepared to learn stuff about yourself and understand that those are gifts and they are tools and they are resources for us. So if we are afraid of it, let yourself be afraid of it until you're like, okay, I'm unafraid now. I'm ready to learn about myself.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Payal.
Of course.
Payal, let everybody know sort of where you're from and like what you do for work. You've kind of
Yeah.
wear many hats. You've got a lot of things going on, which is beautiful. You're very well-rounded. So yeah, let everybody know where they can contact you and what you do.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, for sure. I've in the last 6 months taken on every fun project I could think of. So right now I am, pursuing, I am actively giving Reiki. So if anybody wants Reiki, you can just, send me a DM. I also am a makeup artist. So I've been doing that for years. But I'm also pursuing acting. And so that's been the latest venture.
Wow,
So
good stuff.
I'm working with an acting coach. I'm looking for agents. I'm just kind of I know this is a very tough challenge, but there's a part of me that's like, no, I'm definitely going to do this, so it's so scary, but I think it's just I think I see myself, I look at myself on Instagram and I'm like, there's more potential there. There's definitely more potential there with what she wants to do and who she wants to be. So I kind of, obviously talking in third person here, but I'm just, it's one of those things where I'm now able to kind of see myself in that kind of light and just say, all right, she has potential. She's going to do X, Y, Z, and she's going to put her head to it. So but if anybody wants to contact me or have any questions around Reiki or beauty or acting or anything, you can shoot me a DM. My Instagram is just Payal MUA.
I will link her contact information. And actually, just since you are talking about acting and sort of future endeavors, there was something that came up during your session. You had so usually we do past life regression, so we go back to past life memories, but there was a point where you had a progression. So I took you to a time or a memory, if you want to call it that, when you were in your 40s. And it was this sort of vegetational kind of really beautiful, like you were on the water. There was kind of like a jungle kind of feel, you were saying. And it was very spiritual. And you were like, I'm so happy. Do you remember that?
Yeah, it's just coming to my mind now. And it's funny that you say that because when we were in Bali, so my roommate and I, we went to Bali and we didn't end up staying there, but I kid you not, when I say that I legitimately saw the place that I envisioned, and it was this beautiful Airbnb. It was in the middle of rainforest. I kid you not, that's where I had envisioned that very safe place in that moment. And we ended up not staying there, which was fine. I was we were at a point where I was just I don't want to be secluded anymore because it was truly in the jungle.
Yeah.
But it was one of the most beautiful places. And I will say Bali as a whole was very satisfying to my soul because of how earthy and how green it was and just how beautiful it was. So but yeah, I do remember that.
Something, eh? Yeah, sorry, you kind of broke up a little bit, but I was just saying that because when we did the session, actually it was the kickoff of the session right in the beginning where she had a progression. So she went to a future memory, and it was this beautiful sort of vegetation. There was, you described, I think, sort of flowers and greenery, and you
Trees
said
everywhere.
water, and you just said it was gorgeous. And then Payal actually went to Bali after that session, and she just confirmed that it was pretty much exactly what you saw.
It was exactly what I had thought. It was exactly what I had seen. And I, for some reason I wasn't inclined to go, only because we were kind of just at the tail end of the trip, and I was like, I want to be like in the city area where it's like busy, because we were just so secluded the whole time.
Yeah.
But when I saw the Airbnb, I was like, oh my God, that's so weird. Like, that's crazy. Like, that's what I had seen.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
So
it's
I'm
beautiful.
so glad you got to experience this, and thank you
Hmm.
so much for sharing
Yeah.
your experience with the session.
Hmm.
And yeah, I'll link your stuff, and we'll chat soon.
Awesome. Thank you so
Thank you so
much.
much. Bye, guys. Okay, I'm just gonna now that